Summer's gone, I'm latching on. Don't even know your name, but you're still in my head.
Hi and welcome to RCKicks. On today's show, this is the part 2 of the Kyosho Turbo Optima build. This is the rebuild that came out in 2019 under kit 30619. Now, if you haven't seen the first video, I'll put a link up here. Go check it out. It's got the unboxing and also where we put the gearboxes together, where I put the chain system in, and that will bring you up to speed for this video. In this video we'll crack on and get all the chassis finished, all the suspension in, all the swing arms and everything done to as you see it now. Now, while I've been doing some research on this car, because this is my first Kyosho I've ever had, I found a fantastic resource that you can go check out. It's got loads of information about all Kyosho cars, and that's the Optima House. Now, the guy who owns it is not only does he do a website, but he's an artist as well, so he creates lots of 3D rendering of all the Kyosho cars, and there's a few Tamiya cars in there as well if you go dig through from other people as well. So you will find the link below, and also I'll put up a few of his best pictures, the ones that I really like, up here. You can have a look. Anyway, right, let's crack on, get the chassis finished, and then after this video there'll be one more video where we put the electronics in and get the body built. I'm going to do it in box art because I love the red and white. So that's enough waffling, let's crack on. Now we need these two metal parts, so we'll cut them out. They're the rear plate section. The kit you see here is the re-released Kyosho Turbo Optima that was released in 2019 under kit 30619. The original Turbo Optima was released in 1986. This is the 7th model in the Vintage Series collection from Kyosho. It now comes as standard with 15 key gold anodized aluminium components, and the aluminium used was 6061 T6. It was used to inhibit rust and to minimize scratching. Kyosho also added a slipper clutch to minimize loading impact from jumping and from racing. The key specifications for this kit are: the length is 395mm with a width of 244mm. The height is 120mm and the wheelbase is now at 260mm. The front tread is 208mm and the rear tread is also the same at 208mm. The general consensus from the people in the comments from my first video said that the chain is not as good as the belt drive, as the chain on the vintage cars used to stretch and it wasn't as smooth, as quiet, and wasn't as efficient to use as the belts. I wanted to run it in a chain because I don't have any other cars that use chain, so I thought it'd be fun for me to try it. I probably will later on down the road swap it out and see for myself what the difference is between a chain drive and a belt drive. So there we have it. The front's not stuck down yet, but that's the main chassis coming together slowly. I wish you could actually just pin some things down, because a lot of stuff's moving around while you're trying to do that bit, but for some reason then they're holding off pinning the things down, I guess, to the next page. Nothing too super difficult, it's just trying to keep everything in its place when it's not stuck down. Right, moving on. We now move on to, what have we got now? Page 12. Open bag C. So bag C. There's a lot of metal in this car. It's absolutely stunning looking. Bag C. Hey! looks familiar. What does it want us to do now? It wants us to this part up here. Okay. It was very clever how this car was designed so that the chassis can be stretched to extend or contract the chassis so that you can set the tension on the chain or the belt. It's also very simple because there's only 4 bolts underneath, so it's not like you have to dismantle anything to adjust the chain or the belt. So I was quite impressed with that as well. Bit of breaking news for you. I loved building this kit so much I just had to have another Kyosho car on the core wall. So I looked around and purely by luck someone was selling a mint Turbo Optima Mid vintage original. Now I pulled the trigger on it and it's winging its way here, so I will bring it onto the channel. It needs a little bit of work, but it's actually in fantastic condition. It's more the body has a few paint flecks and things like that, so I look forward to showing that one to you soon. Well, page 13, number 10 servo saver has already been made for you. I guess people found that quite difficult to do. You still got to do the ball ends, but the actual spring in mount is done for you. One thing you want to keep in mind when you're building this kit is once you fit the anodized under chassis plate, as you're building it, make sure you're building it on something soft. If you're building it straight onto your workbench, you might find that you'll scratch the under tray. So I built mine on my manual, but also you have to be careful that the staples don't scratch the underside, because it'd be a shame to finish your mint car and then to find that you've actually scratched all the under tray.
I've got some special memories. They're all including you and me. You make me forget that I'm shy. When I'm with you, I'm pretty wild. BFFs for life. Feel so good inside.
I made one mistake. The bars, the 2 bars that run all the way along, they have holes drilled them and they must be in a certain orientation, but you can put them the other way round and they still line up versus the manual. But one set that holds the steering, is the hole is on that side but it's on the inside of the bar. So when you put the bars in, make sure you check that you've got the bar round the right way and the top hole is on the inside of the bar. If you flip the bar around the other way, all the holes line up like the manual, but one hole is slightly off to the other side, so you won't notice that. It wasn't the end of the world. I could just undo 3 bolts, turn it again, and then screw it all back together again. The way you'll know if you've done it wrong is that these 4 screws, these 2 are what allow you to pull the chassis forward to tension the belt or the chain, and the other 2 hold the steering, and one of them won't line up. But it's very clever because this is the point where you pull the front forward or back to release the tension in the chain as the chain stretches over time. So it's very easy to adjust. It's not I think the chain is easier to adjust than the belt, because the chain, you just pull the chain tight and then do up the, whereas I think the belt needs more tension and is more flexible. So, but I just wanted to build a chain driven car, because I haven't, normally they're all drive shaft, whereas I've got the belts going on the XLS Schumacher, so I thought I'll have one of all of them then. But it's absolutely stunning. Right, let's crack on, keep going. So that's page 13 sorted. I seem to be getting Loctite everywhere, but hey, that's my own stupid fault. Right, so we have a lot going on at the front now. I didn't find throughout the whole kit any issues with fit and finish. Everything lined up exactly as it should. So if you're building one of these kits and something's not lining up correctly, then just double check that you haven't made a mistake. I was very surprised when I used the chain in the running gear, how free the car rolls when it's not got a motor in it. The resistance is very low, so I was really chuffed, because I thought, oh, if I run a chain for the first time, I was expecting it to be very tank light, lots of clanky noises and a lot of resistance, but it's very free moving, so that bodes well for a nice smooth car.
And now with you I'm pretty wild. BFFs for life. Feel so good inside. I'm yours and you're mine.
So there we go. That's page 14, number 12. That's the top of the arms attached. There's a longer screw and a shorter screw. The longer screw goes at the front. Make sure you put it at the front, not the back. I started putting it in at the back by accident. You don't have to worry too much about the anti-roll bars. They will clear. So I thought, once you put them on, if you put them on when that's up like that, they won't clear, but they do. So it's okay. You can do that. Next, we move on to page 14, number 13, counter gear. So we're cracking on, and the more I work with it, the more I think it's absolutely stunning. It is beautiful. You should be buying this kit.
Always there, always with you, yeah. You light up my days, make tears go away. Sun shines on my face when you're here, when you're with me, yeah. You and me and you in a teenage dream, living free, coming through like it's supposed to be. In a teenage dream, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. You and me and you in a teenage dream, having fun, being dumb like it's supposed to be. In a teenage dream, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. So cry or smile, you know what makes me scared at night.
Right, so I've done page 14, number 13, which is the counter gear. Right, I've just opened bag D and got out the uprights for the front and rear swing arms and suspension. So we'll do the, which one should we do first? Let's do the back one. Why not, hey? So now we move on to page 16, number 16, where we put the arms on. Ooh, starting to look like a car. So there's our arms. One mistake I did was I didn't check the orientation of the front swing arms. I actually put them back to front. I only realised later on when the steering was binding slightly, so I had to go back and flip them over. It's because the front ones, they kind of look like they should be that way round, but you actually flip them the other way round. So just something to be mindful, just check them, otherwise you just have to do your work twice. So that's 16, page 16, 16 suspension arms. We now move on to 17. 17 is the uprights for the front, I think, yeah, front hub carriers. So let's crack on and get those done. Right, so we're getting there. I've put the arms on now and did all the uprights, and that's where we've got to now. Everything is doing what it's supposed to. Next is we need to put the top plate on. So that's this part here, which I must admit, after looking at the rest of the car, doesn't look that great, to be quite honest with you, but it's what it says, and that's what we will do. In a kit of this quality, I would have liked to have seen the top deck to be made in carbon fibre, so I was a bit disappointed. I'm not sure if people have made them in carbon fibre. I don't see why not. It's just a single flat plate that's cut out and then countersunk for the screws. So I'm hoping that someone's got one in carbon, because I think it would help lift this kit just a little bit more. So I'll go and check, but up to date I haven't actually had time to go and look, so I'm not sure, but I don't see why not. Okay, so top mount is now on. Now the next step is to do the shocks and springs, or dampeners, whichever you want to call it. Now there's nothing special about these ones, they're reversed. That's the only difference, so everything goes in through the bottom. So I won't bother showing you that, so I've actually already done them off camera, just to move things along a little bit. So the next step is to mount them, so we're getting close. Building the dampeners was a pleasure, and they're lovely. They really fit well with the rest of the kit, and you've got to love the nice gold anodized finish that matches the rest of the chassis. The rear motor guard was an option on the original vintage car, but in this new Riri kit it comes as standard, and it's anodized gold just like all the other bits. So that's the rears, all done. It's a little bit tight there, but that's how they designed it. But no, it's all good. Seems to be working fine. Can't complain. Right, moving on to the front ones. The front ones. So there you go, front and back all done, looking super glinty. Not too keen on this top plate, it's gonna have to give it a good clean. It's got a lot of oily mitt marks in it. Moving on, flipping over. Okay, well I'm not going to fit a motor today because I'm going to buy a motor and the electronic speed controllers and everything. So we're pretty much there. So I guess these don't make any difference. Be careful when you're fitting the tyres for the first time. The hexagonal inside part of the wheel is not very deep, so it is possible to force the tyre rod incorrectly and gouge out the inside. So something to be mindful of, especially if you've never done it before on this car. So, what did I think? Yeah, took a bit of getting used to, a little bit different, finding some of the bits and pieces, because instead of using the spurs like with A, B, C, they gave them numbers like OT 205, which I think you don't really need to do that. I guess that's to do with their whole parts department and all that kind of stuff. Beautiful quality. Apart from that, no, there's only one or two little gotchas, but nothing too special. The only thing I don't really like is I'm not too keen on the way that these rubber these plastic bits hold the shocks in place. I think Tamiya does a better job of that, but actually the quality of the car, you can't fault it. It's lovely. Yeah, it's really nice. Really happy. Anyway, on the next episode, we are going to get all the electronics in it, the motor in it, spray up the body and finish it, and then take it for a bit of a run if the weather's any good. Thanks very much. Please like and subscribe, hit that bell button, because if you don't, you won't see any future content coming from RCKicks, and I'll see you on the next one. Don't forget, we're on Facebook, so hop over to Facebook, do a search for RCKicks, and there's also RCKicks group, so you can join, comment, post, talk to everybody else who's into RC. Also, we have some RCKicks stickers if you want them. It's just a bit of fun. See you on the next one.